It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. And if you're not watching the show there already, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video or when we go live, because it is officially football season. We're back, folks. And Steelers Saturday Sit Down is coming back starting on this Saturday. It's our pregame show getting you ready for all the action on Sundays with the Steelers. So we go live typically around 10 a.m. Eastern every Saturday morning talking about that upcoming game for the Steelers. So you're not going to want to miss that. Hit the notification bell, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also follow us on all the listening platforms as well, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find your podcast too. Go check out the description of each show where we got all the links to our great sponsors. And we got the link to our GoFundMe for year 8 of Rocking Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser where we've helped provide children in the local 724-412 area codes the Christmas that they've always deserved. And Smitty and I never had to worry about where it was coming from. Been able to help over 177 kids so far for the first 7 years. But you can get involved right now by donating either to the GoFundMe or getting the money directly to Smitty or myself directly. That goes to help some individual families this time of, or the Christmas time of year, as well as adopting kids off of the Angel Tree. That's going to be upcoming. We're in September now, so I'm sure that news is going to be coming sooner rather than later. And that's another way to get involved with the mission too. We do that in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene. So if you want to get involved with that, there's a couple ways to do it. Right now, we got the GoFundMe down below, or you can hit us up personally and get involved that way. We also do give away some prizes for the people that are generous enough to donate. So if you're interested in that, typically we give away some Penguins tickets, some sports memorabilia, some Game Changer shirts, some Around the 412 stuff, all the good stuff. So if you want to get involved, it's our Christmas fundraiser. You can read about it down below, talk to us on our socials, or eventually the Angel Tree is going to be coming from the East Rochester Salvation Army as well.
Yeah.
That's new.
It's like a soundboard on here now that I've been waiting to try out and haven't had a spot to work it in. So I felt like that was appropriate right there. So looking forward to that really ramping up with football season coming along as well, along with the content. It's very football centric right now. We do have hockey coming back in just over a month, but as you can tell, we've completely given up on the Pirates. And it's been a lot of football content. But what I will say is, Tyler, you've noticed this past week, trying to do a little bit more stuff as well as just the regular podcast. I'm doing these little short videos, Smitty Steelers in 60, giving my thoughts on whatever happened during the day for the Steelers. Feel free to jump in, by the way, and do whatever you would like on the channel as well. But just trying to get a way to, put more stuff out there more frequently than just putting an episode out a week. And as you mentioned, this weekend, I was hoping you'd put more emphasis on it. But yes, this weekend, Steelers Saturday Sit Down, we'll be back on the channel live every Saturday. So looking forward to that coming back as well. But yeah, let's talk Steelers. We got the NFL season kicking off. By the time you're watching or listening to this tonight, Cowboys and Eagles kick off the NFL season. It still sounds wild to me to say. The offseason really flew by. I think it goes faster and faster each year that I get older. I don't know. But looking forward to that happening, obviously. And we're going to do some predictions. We are going to do our playoff field, but that's the only thing that we're going to do as it relates to the entire NFL. The rest of this is going to be Steelers related. So a team MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, a rookie of the year, the team record, a surprise pick in a positive direction, and then who we believe will be a disappointment based off where maybe expectations are within the fan base. So I feel like we should work our way up to MVP. So let's just get the bad out of the way. Let's start off with who we feel like is going to be maybe the player that disappoints us. And just for the sake of maybe, yes, you and I throughout this are going to have some of the same answers. I don't want to steal your thunder. Likewise, I think we should alternate back and forth who's starting. I'll let you go first here with who you think should be the disappointment of the team.
Okay, I know nobody's going to want to hear this. I don't even want to talk about it because we've talked about how important it is for this guy to improve, but I just have a tough time seeing it from the left side of the holy train. If you could hear that, Smitty's house is near some railroads in Monaca. So sorry if you heard that, but
do you still hear it?
No, I don't. I just heard the one blow.
I turned down the
But-
gain.
Okay, there we go. But listen, we've been talking all offseason about how important it is to have the offensive line solidified, have them playing at the highest level they can be, especially with the newcomer of Aaron Rodgers and wanting to keep him upright. But you and I have both discussed that we don't even think that where the tackles are playing are their best positions. And I feel like they should be flipped. Broderick should be on the right and Troy should be on the left. However, that's not going to be the case. And when I was thinking about the biggest disappointment is, for me, being in year 3 of Broderick Jones and still being unsure if he is going to even pan out as a player for you. I mean, this is the year where you're wanting to really see him take that stride because the Steelers are going to be having to make a decision on a 5th-year option. And I just don't know how comfortable they're going to be after this season, especially with him on the left side. He's going to be playing against a lot of elite edge rushers on that side of the football. I just have a feeling that Broderick Jones is going to be a bit of a disappointment this season, barring expectations, just because I feel like there is a sense of heightened expectation, and he was better in the preseason than he has shown in regular season games. But again, that's just all preseason talk. You got to show it whenever the games actually matter. And up to this point, we have not seen an extended amount of play from Broderick Jones that makes me feel comfortable in him being the long-term left tackle, being the player that we traded up for in the first round to go take. We knew it was going to be a project when he was taken, and you and I both had talked about that he's not going to be a year 1 Pro Bowler, but I'm not even sure that he's going to be a 5th-year pickup guy if this season does not go well, and I just don't really think that the left tackle spot is going to be great for him. That's why I think it's going to be disappointing.
I mean, going back to that conversation, though, when he first had drafted, like, this is the year that I expected it really would all come together. So,
yeah,
I think the jury's still out. I am encouraged by what I saw in the preseason. I like you're saying, it is just the preseason, but at the same time, I mean, Josh Hines-Allen was who he was going against against Jacksonville. Yaya Diaby is a very good pass rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he saw a lot of him in the preseason. Like, maybe he has turned the page, and but I think it's certainly fair to go into the season with questions. He'd probably be on the short list for me too, to be honest with you. But what's funny is, and we're going to talk about the other side of that, I feel complete opposite about that other tackle spot. In terms of my decision, I had a very hard time deciding between 2 names, so I actually just put them both down. This is the only spot where I did this, but as bad as it is to say, I had multiple people that came to mind for me on this.
Oof.
The guy playing right next to Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo. I think we are nearing the end for Seumalo. He always gets off to pretty slow starts. And this is, again, taking into consideration expectation for him. I think he's going to be, based off expectation, their worst offensive lineman this year. And
okay. I think that's a fair point.
I think by the end of it, we're going to understand why neither side of this wanted to do business beyond this year. His contract expires, and we've heard nothing about a contract extension. I don't know, and I'm not questioning motivation or anything like that. He's getting older. I think that we've already seen the play kind of dip off at times in his Steelers tenure. He hasn't been the healthiest dude. So I just think it all kind of comes to a head this year. The other one, and again, this is based off expectation of the fan base, is Jonnu Smith. I mean, he's coming off his best season in Miami, and I think if you're expecting him to replicate those numbers, you're going to be disappointed. So that is the reason for the inclusion here. I just think it sounds wild to say because we've talked about the lack of options at the top of that wide receiver depth chart. But oddly enough, I just think it comes down to too many mouths to feed when it comes to targets specifically for Jonnu. Like, I don't think he touches the amount of targets, receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns that he put up in Miami. And for that reason, I think that you could look at it as a disappointment. DK Metcalf, I think, is going to have like 130 targets from Aaron Rodgers. And this is a team that's going to run the football first and foremost. So, and when they're playing 2 tight ends, I think it's going to be a lot more of Pat and Darnell than it is Jonnu and Darnell or Pat and Jonnu.
Yeah.
Jonnu and Darnell, whatever combination we throw out there. I think there's going to be a lot of times where Jonnu's just like that third fiddle, who's certainly a good receiving tight end, but again, going back to why I questioned the fit. So those are the two that I landed on.
The other one that I had considered is also on the offensive line. I thought about going with Mason McCormick based off of expectations set by the fan base mostly after last year. I feel like the resounding thought about Mason McCormick is that he is a great guard for them and was the incumbent starting guard, which we said that shouldn't be a guarantee for him going into this offseason and that they should try to bring some competition, and he is going to be that starting guard. So, I mean, he won the job, but he's another one that I thought about just because of like fan expectation based off of last season, how that went.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't think. I mean, we've had this conversation on here. I would not have been guaranteeing him that job. I would have liked to brought in somebody that was at least like starting caliber.
They never brought in anybody that was realistic a competition for him.
At any spot. Like, we knew who the starting 5 offensive linemen were the entire time. So, like, yeah, I would have liked to have brought in somebody that at least pushed him a little bit. Again, I would have liked somebody that had that flexibility, like a guard tackle. Again, this is just throwing a name out there that can do that. Not saying it specifically had to be him, but like a Patrick McCarry type player. All right, so let's get into the positive stuff now. Biggest surprise in a good way this year for the team. I'll start on this one. I'm going to go with the guy that a lot of people are down on. Don't get me wrong. I get it. The time in his last stop was awful. He was hurt. Team was bad. I think there were some questions about motivation, desire to play at times there. I'm doing Juan Thornhill, now taking over that free safety spot with Minkah Fitzpatrick exiting. I think he's just in a prime position to succeed because of the pieces around him. They got dudes at every level. He doesn't have to, be a superhero on the field out there. Like they can just let the game come to him. And for that reason, I think his career high in picks is like 3. One of my bold predictions this year was he at the very least ties that this year with the Steelers. I think teams are going to be targeting him, and I think we see closer. I don't know if he's going to be exactly the player. I think we're going to see closer to his time in Kansas City than we do in Cleveland for Juan Thornhill this year.
I think that'd be great for the defense. Juan Thornhill, definitely somebody that we weren't that high on whenever the signing was made. But post Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, seeing him in the preseason, seeing him in training camp, I feel like the thought on Juan Thornhill,
you get Jalen Ramsey around him as well. Like, yeah, I just think it's more about
different
the entire picture than it is Juan Thornhill just himself.
Sure, yeah, I like that pick. I mean, obviously, if you're going for most surprising from a signing where nobody was really excited about it to being a strength on the back end of that defense, that would for sure fit that bill. The player that I went with is on the offensive side of the ball, somebody that didn't really see anything of last year, and there's a lot of question marks still about how he's going to perform. I'm going with Roman Wilson. I think that he is going to come into his own in this offense. I know that there's some question about him being that like X receiver because it's not traditionally what he has played or what he should be playing in the NFL. But I think that when you have the attention the defense is going to get with DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin whenever he's healthy, he's going to draw attention from him as well. Right now, the Steelers wide receiver too. I think that Roman Wilson is going to come into his own on this defense or on this offense. I think that he looked very good in the preseason from what you did see from him. I think he's taken some strides from what he was in year 1 where you didn't really see a lot of him, but there also was a lot of talk that he just didn't look very well before the injury and before he basically missed his entire rookie season. So this is basically a pseudo rookie season in and of itself, but I think that he's going to become a solid player for the Steelers offense, cleared wide receiver 3 in this offense, and maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, I was gonna try to be cheeky with this and maybe put him in as my rookie of the year, him or Faetanu, but I didn't do it. I went with an actual rookie when it comes to that. But I mean, I like the pick. I predicted him to have somewhere between 35 to 40 catches this year. Another one of my bold predictions, playing into the Juan Thornhill thing that I just said as well. So yeah, I mean, they need him to at the very least be able to do some stuff within that Z role, playing on the boundary if he's going to be on the field. Because Calvin Austin's their slot receiver. Like, if one of those two guys is going to play outside, very clearly it's going to be Roman. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. Big year for him, and he's got some questions to answer for himself and also the team. Like, he very, very well what he does this season could determine. They're going to have to invest in the wide receiver position, but how much in the offseason? I think he's going to have a big hand in deciding what that is. They don't need him to be, a world beater. They just need him to be pretty good. They don't need him to be, a game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412 here. Got to take a quick second to tell you about our friends at Game Changers. That's their logo. This is one of their shirts. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Doesn't matter if it's sports, music, movies. They got you covered with their designs. Over 5,000 different designs in that catalog over there. GameChanger.la or Pick6.la. You'll save yourself $10 when you use the code AT412 on your order. The link is below to both of those sites. Go check out their entire catalog. Again, 5,000 different designs. If you go with the black or the white, it'll be true to size. If you go with the pepper, which I'm wearing right now, or the ivory, they'll be a bit oversized. It's a heavyweight material. Beautiful stuff. Go check them out. Again, save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout.
Love the new promo, by the way.
Much more fitting to what actually is going on over at GameChanger.la or Pick6.la. I mean, literally, that was so outdated. They've added 3, it wasn't even half of what their current inventory is the last time that I recorded.
Not even just that. You had a mustache.
Yeah, true.
That was like a week after Arthur Smith was hired.
When I play the Keeps one, I'll look very different. Got to re-record that one. And I mentioned that last week. Didn't get around to doing it. So, but I'll have to now. Anyways, all right, Roman Wilson, your pick there for a good surprise. I have, based off the order that I did this in, the record was next, but we're going to skip that for now. We'll come back to that at the end. So we'll go with Rookie of the Year. Your turn to start. What are we thinking?
So my Rookie of the Year, I went with somebody that plays a more premier position, someone that I think is going to get better as the year goes along. I'm going with Caleb Johnson. I think the running back duo, especially with the extension of Jalen Warren, having that running back duo locked up for the next 3 seasons, that's awesome for the Steelers. I love the extension of Warren. And Caleb Johnson is someone that we saw get better from game 1 to game 2 in the preseason. We saw him get better from the first snaps of the preseason through his last snaps of the preseason. I think that's going to be the story of his first year in the NFL as well. I think that it might take a game or two to get that churning, but I think that as we get to the midseason, late season, you're going to see Caleb Johnson hit a stride. And I think that he's going to, as far as a contributor to this team goes, I think he's going to be the Rookie of the Year because I think that he's going to be a vital part of this offense. And I think the duo of Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson is going to be something that we're going to be talking about for years to come because I think that they complement each other so well. They both fit so well in this offensive scheme. And I think that playing the premier position that he does is of being one of those 2 running backs that we're going to be relying on, it kind of gives him an edge over some of the other guys in this class for Rookie of the Year as well.
Still no picks, the exact same. Man, would I love to pick Y.A. Black here, by the way. I just don't think he's going to play enough. I'm still going with Derek Harmon. Even though he's not playing in week 1, maybe won't play in week 2. He'll be back sooner rather than later. And just the way that he had looked throughout training camp in the preseason, I'm super bullish on this guy and think he's going to take on a massive workload as the season goes on too. I mean, Cam Hayward's not getting any younger. Keanu Benton's coming into the season banged up as well. I don't think they're going to play a ton of base. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of times where all 3 are on the field. And maybe it is Derek Harmon that takes a back seat there originally, but I do think his role is going to increase as the season goes on, much like you were saying about Caleb Johnson. And to be honest with you, I just think he's the best player out of them. So when it's a toss up for me, I'm just going with the best player that to me looked the most consistent throughout the all the offseason stuff that took place as well. I do like Caleb, and we probably should have mentioned as well the Jalen Warren extension within this. There was a piece of news to be discussed there. What a deal, by the way. I mean, less money than Tony Pollard. I don't know. I can understand why the Steelers wanted to do this piece of business right now. The timing of it's kind of curious. For him to sign a tender kind of made it look like to me he was just going to play out the year and then end up signing an extension a week before the season starts. I mean, I'm cool with it. I think he's a great fit for what they do offensively. From the way that he's being viewed, though, I feel like maybe his stock couldn't have been lower than it is right now. Playing hurt last year the way he did, I don't think we ever saw him at his best. And then very little work in the preseason. He fumbled the ball, slipped a couple times in that game as well, which on a very bad field in Carolina. Well, speaking of that, bad field in week 1 in East Rutherford as well. So, but I love Jalen Warren as a whole. Glad to get that piece of business done. Like your pick of Caleb Johnson, but yeah, I'm going to go with their first round pick and Derek Harmon. Pretty easy for me. Those would be the two. Like, again, I would have loved to pick Y.A. Black. He ain't going to play enough. It's between the two that we said.
Yeah, for sure. And it was kind of tough to decide between Derek Harmon and Caleb Johnson for me. Ultimately, I went with Johnson just because I think as far as a contribution goes to the team, I think that throughout the season, you're going to see that role increase for him in the offense. But Derek Harmon is easily eligible for this pick as well. And I do agree that he is the best player that the Steelers got in this draft. I just think the defense is so stacked that he may not stick out as much. Maybe, compared to his other rookies, he will. But he's probably, at least I would view, if the defense is going to play up to the expectations that I have for them, maybe not as noticeable as a whole just because of how many good players he's surrounded with as well.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't think that this isn't like put out there yet. And again, they're not going to play a ton of base. Sounds like Isaiah Loudermilk going to start. And we like in that Derek Harmon role, if he were to, when they go into base defense, again, I don't think it's going to be a ton. So you'll probably just see a lot of Benton and Hayward. But yeah, something to keep in mind there is Isaiah Loudermilk looks like he's the first crack to Derek Harmon role.
Benton healthy, by the way. And yeah. Cam Hayward, I love the way you ended your little short from today.
Yeah. Dude, he's been on the like I feel like Schefter's just so off talking about this right now. Like every time that he's on Pat McAfee or something, he's like, "Oh, we got to wait and see." Like he hasn't been on the field. He's been on the field for weeks. Like, and he's in full pad on a Wednesday. When like this is normally the day that he would have off, and he was in full pads doing everything. Like he's playing on Sunday. We need to stop talking about it. We'll see if they give him a contract sweetener before we get there. But either way, he'll be out there. Defensive player of the year, speaking of Cam Hayward, was probably that for the Steelers last year. It's funny because like every time that we go into the season talking about this specific topic, we're like, oh, it's a slam dunk. It's TJ Watt, obviously. But like, to be honest, where would he have been last year? Third? I mean, Deshaun Elliott, I'd probably have ahead of him too last year.
Probably.
So, and he's not my pick this year because I think this guy, what he's going to allow them to do is just so different than what they've been able to do in the past because of personnel. I'm going with Jalen Ramsey as my defensive player of the year here. Reason being, I think all the ways that he can contribute. I think he's going to turn the football over. I think you can send him on slot blitzes. My prediction is he actually gets a sack before he gets a turnover. I think it happens on Sunday. With the way that Justin Fields holds onto the ball for so long, banged up offensive line, their backs are pretty good pass protectors, but I just think they're going to get creative now. A lot of people get on TA for his lack of creativity. I think it's been more about like understanding the personnel that he has and not having that dude. Now they got as good as it gets in terms of the nickel defense. You got a slot defender that can defend the run, can defend the pass, move around. Jalen Ramsey, to me, because of the versatility that he brings to the table, is going to be my defensive player of the year. And maybe that's a conversation to have as well, is how do we look at this? Is it just statistically who has the best season or who allows them to be an elite group? And I think because of everything that Jalen Ramsey brings to the table is why this defense is going to tell the story that it's going to tell by season's end.
Well, I don't think it has to be much of a conversation because this is the first one where we actually agree.
Wow. Okay.
I have Jalen Ramsey too. And I think that everything that you said, I'll reiterate, the versatility that he's going to bring on that defense, being able to play multiple positions, the creativity that TA is going to be able to do with him playing up near the offense or the line of scrimmage, playing up in coverage. I think that you are going to have someone that you can mold to any part of this defense, someone that's going to bring back the splash to the back end of the defense, someone that also brings that physicality up front on that defense. I really think that the Jalen Ramsey trade, as much as I love Minkah Fitzpatrick, I don't know how much Minkah Fitzpatrick would make this Steelers defense in 2025 a better defense. But I just think that the versatility in what Jalen Ramsey can do completely transforms what your secondary looks like and how you treat your defense. And that's something, again, not to discredit everything that Minkah Fitzpatrick did in the Steeler uniform. That's just something that he was not doing. And I think that you're going to get that this year.
Yeah. And to be honest, I have more question about like the team when it comes to Minkah Fitzpatrick than I did Minkah. Like they probably should have been doing. They probably could have done more than they were doing with Minkah.
Yeah, sure.
But for specifically what they were having him do, the role that they were having him play in, I agree. And maybe I'm misguided in thinking that, but I think it was more about team than player when it came to why we saw Minkah's value diminish, where he was no longer worth the contract that they were paying him and decided he was worth moving on from. Okay, so we agree on defensive player of the year. What about offensive player of the year?
I feel like we're going to differ because I feel like I know where you're going to go with this from. So I went with Aaron Rodgers. I know that's an easy answer because he's a quarterback. However, I genuinely believe that the Steelers are going to get their best quarterback play that they have had since at the very least, like 2020, 2021 Ben. Definitely since Ben retired, but I think going even back to 2018, they're going to get their best quarterback play since then. And no, I'm not saying that he's going to throw for 5,000 yards like Ben did in 2018. However, I do think that you're going to see an elevated quarterback play from Aaron Rodgers. I think that he's going to be smarter with the football. I think he's going to make better decisions with it. And I think that he's going to distribute it well and run Arthur Smith's offense very well. I genuinely think that I've said for years that if the Steelers offense was average, then that would be good enough to potentially like win them a playoff game. Not that should be the bar, but that's where we're at right now, is that they haven't been able to get over that hump. And I just feel like the offense, you look at what they're surrounded with, especially in the AFC, and the offense just isn't cutting it. If they had even a league average offense, I think that you're having a different conversation about what the Steelers would be able to do, at least in the first round of the playoffs. And I feel like Aaron Rodgers could get them there. I don't think that he is what he was in the first half of the Jets. I think that he played better going down the stretch last season with the Jets, and I think that he's in a much more comfortable situation than he was in New York. I think that he wanted to be here. I think that he loves playing for Coach Tomlin, and I think that he is going to enjoy being in the Steelers environment and basically sticking this year to football. And that's pretty much the only conversation we're going to have about it. I just think that he's going to excel better than any of the previous quarterbacks that have done so in this offense since Ben has retired. And that's why I think that he's going to be Offensive Player of the Year. I think that there's a lot of arguments for a lot of players on this team for Offensive Player of the Year, but quarterback position stands out among the most of them. And that's why I think that if you're getting the best play that you've had in 7 years, he would deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, the closest, you said league average offense. I mean, last year they were 11th until the losing streak and then ended up finishing like 16th. So literally smack dab in the middle there. And I feel like they overachieved based off the personnel that they had. I feel like it's reasonable to expect them to be a teenish offense this year. I mean, the Denver Broncos offense last year was 10. Like the Cardinals were right there. I think the Steelers could be within that realm for sure. I mentioned DK Metcalf. I think he's going to have like 130 targets within this offense this year. I think that could certainly be a direction to go. To be honest with you, I don't even know how you would evaluate this. I just think he's going to be their best player in the offensive side, and think he's got a shot to be a Pro Bowler in his first full season. Troy Fautanu is going to be my Offensive Player of the Year. I am super bullish on Troy Fautanu. I know everybody is talking about Zach Frazier right now, and rightfully so, coming off the rookie season that he had. He's a top 5-ish center probably already in the NFL. But when you talk about value, how valuable Troy Fautanu would be if he's a top 7 to 10 tackle in the NFL this year is immensely more valuable just because of the position. I think, especially when you talk about like needing a stabilizer between one of those two bookends, between him and Broderick. Yeah, I'm super bullish on Troy this year. I think he's looked great in the preseason. Didn't give up a single pressure on 30 pass block snaps. He looks athletically exactly what we were looking for him to come back from the injury. I think he's due for a fantastic season. And I know the Pro Bowl is what it is. So name recognition, is he going to make the Pro Bowl this year? I don't know. But I think he's going to have that type of season where it's a conversation, at least amongst us.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's always hard to give that type of award to a offensive lineman because it's harder to do criteria for an offensive lineman based off of
Sure.
well, there's not really necessarily statistics for them. There's advanced statistics, but there's not just black and white yards, touchdowns, all that sort of stuff. But I do think that that's a very viable pick. I think that Troy is incredibly talented. And whereas my disappointment is Broderick Jones, you're right. Like they need one of those bookends to kind of take the reins with that tackle spot. And Troy definitely has the talent to be able to do so. I like that a lot. I mean, I'm pretty high on what these guys that missed their rookie years last year are able to do this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So look forward to seeing that come to fruition. All right. MVP. I don't know everything that you said about your offensive player of the year is why Aaron Rodgers is my team MVP. Because I think even though it may not bear fruit much differently in the regular season, we'll get into our predictions here in a second in terms of what their record is. I think it could look very different how they get there. And when they get to the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs, I think that they are set up, not saying it's for sure going to happen, set up to actually have postseason success in a way that they weren't prior with the way that they've built this thing. And for that reason, if he is the quarterback to get them over the hump, because of the position that he plays, because of getting them over the hump, I would think that automatically makes him more valuable. So to me, just what he brings, his ability to run everything in Arthur Smith's playbook in a way that we didn't have last year, just kind of the way that he's taken to his teammates. He's made it his mission to spend every day with a different guy and stretching. Today he was stretching with Lou Nichols, a running back on the practice squad. Like he is very dedicated to making sure that he knows every one of his teammates, active 53 are on the practice squad, and I can certainly admire that. So he's going to be my team MVP. There's a noticeable lack of TJ Watt within my picks here. Not to say he's going to have a bad season by any means, but this is the first year that we've done these where I think he hasn't been on here.
Well, don't worry. I'll bring it home because my team MVP is TJ Watt. So I was a little bit cheeky because I treated the defensive player of the year kind of how the NFL treats offensive player of the year versus MVP, where the MVP is pretty much always going to be a quarterback and the offensive player of the year will be the best running back. So I kind of did that with my defense, whereas because of the versatility you're getting from Jalen Ramsey and how he changes what you're able to do defensively, he's my defensive player of the year. But I do think my team MVP is still going to be TJ Watt. He has won it for the Steelers 5 out of the last 6. The only time he didn't win it was, I believe, in 2022, was Minkah Fitzpatrick. But I think, and you mentioned this earlier, I think you could argue that last year Cam Hayward should have won that award as the team MVP. But I think that TJ Watt gets it this year. I think he deserves it this year. And for what was a disappointing season, which 11.5 sacks, that's a really good year for most edge rushers. But whenever you're now the second highest paid edge rusher, you are no longer able to sit at 11.5 sacks and call that a good season. I think that he gets back into the high teens range of his sacks. I'm talking like 18 plus. And I think that you're going to see a huge year from his contract extension. I think that everything that we worried about during the season, and when I say we, I mean Steeler fans, worried about during the season or the offseason with the whole contract and if TJ should go, stay, I think that you're going to throw that over the window. I don't know how that contract is going to age, but I think at least for 2025, you're going to see a resurgence of a TJ Watt. You're going to see a healthy TJ Watt, and you're going to see him get back to his old self with those high teen sack numbers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I agree in terms of I think that production sees an uptick from last year. But for me, it's not so much about the number. It's just we can't be running on E when we get to the end of the season. That to me is the biggest thing. Whether it be injury or just him running out of gas for whatever reason, we've seen now 3 seasons in a row where that play has taken a massive dip the last month or so of the season. One of those seasons wasn't even available in the playoff game because he got hurt right before. Previous season, he partially tore his pec and then just clearly was not the same player when he came back from. And then last year he got hurt against the Eagles, but continued to play. It just wasn't as productive. You could have told me he didn't play in January, and I would have believed you. So, or I should have said December, and I would have believed you. But yeah, I'm certainly there thinking that TJ's going to have a great season. Not somebody that I want to doubt by any means. And I think being rewarded with the money that he did is not going to do what it does for some guys where at that point they check out. I just don't see that happening. All right, let's get into our team prediction and our playoff field. But actually first, we'll throw it to myself. And by the way, again, I'm going to look very different. Heck, the background, that was at my parents' house. Everything about this is going to look very different. Let's tell you about Keeks. Smitty from around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keeks Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keeks Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keeks Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. The question is, do I go to a stash again for R.D. Smith during the regular season?
That is a good question. I
probably will in November regardless for Movember, but
sure. Then I would just keep the beard until then.
Okay. All right.
Because that's an awful, because realistically, you shave it for the start of the season. By the time your beard's growing back long enough to, like, you're going to be close to Movember, where I feel like you should just either keep the mustache literally the entire season or only do it getting it into November.
Do you think the soul patch has to go? Like just the mustache? Is that the way we got to do it?
Yeah, that's how I would do it.
Okay. All right, anyways. So going back to what I had said earlier about not being sure if the fruit would bear necessarily throughout the course of the regular season in terms of me feeling like this team is built better for the playoffs than in years past. It's become a running joke about 9-8, even though the Steelers have only done that once. The running joke should be 10-7, which is the record that I'm predicting the Steelers finish with this year, is 10-7. I think the division outside of Cleveland, and Cleveland always plays us well, is tough. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a 3-3 type of season within the division. And you look at, they better get off to a good start early in the year, because I think it gets really tough as the season goes on, very similarly to last year. The thing that's tough, and why I'm not one of those people, not talking poorly about anybody that does this, it's just not for me, that does like the game by game predictions already this far out. It's just like so many things are going to change. You know, the unfortunate reality is teams are going to have injuries, major injuries that impact their season. These teams aren't going to look the way that they do. Like, imagine predicting Steelers Chargers right now in week 11 and feeling confident about your decision at all there. Like,
yeah,
what are we doing? So I don't do that. I just think it all ends up equaling out to what you feel like the football team really is. And to me, this is a 10-7 football team.
I think that's fair. 10-7 should be the meme. That was a big thing. What was that, this like off season where the meme was coming out with like 9-8, and it's like that's not even really what actually happens.
It happened once, and they were like 5-8 and had to win 4 straight games to even get to 9-8. So
yeah, so
pretty impressive they did it.
I like you. So I look at the season as a whole, and I think to get a season record, I look at the season game by game and just try to gauge how I think just the Steelers would fare on paper in that game, but not actually try to necessarily say win or loss. Because like you, imagine trying to predict on December 28th at Cleveland, like what if the Steelers are playing Dylan Gabriel? Like there's a lot that could happen in a season where you have no idea what's going to be happening in 3 months from now. But I predict one game different than you, and I actually predict one game better than you. I think that the Steelers finish 11-6. I don't know if you said this. I don't think they win the division still. I would give that to Baltimore.
I didn't yet. I was just okay. Well, I was gonna do that in a second when we did the.
I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but I don't think that wins them the division. I think that you're probably off by a game or two winning the division still at 11-6. But I do think that you see improvement this year. And I don't think, despite being similar where the Steelers' schedule gets tougher as it goes along, I don't think that you're going to see that drop off in a 5-game losing streak like you saw last season. I think the offense is going to be built better for this season. I think the defense is going to be more dynamic. And I think they find themselves a game better than they did a year ago and sit at 11-6 by season's end.
Okay. I like it. What I'll say is, if I had to make a second selection, I would be more inclined to go your direction than a game lower. So I would go to 11-6 before I go to 9-8.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. Just like I think that this team is closer to 10-7, 11-6 than they are 9-8, 8-9, and
also 12 wins seems super rich. Like I feel like they have a very small window of what this team, if they stay healthy, is.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I that's why I think that, like, when I look at it, I look at the division games, I look at the season as a whole, see what seems likely as an outcome, but again, you can't predict anything. That's why I'm optimistic about this year, which is why I'm going a game better.
I love it. All right. Let's talk about our playoff fields here. Tyler playing spoiler alert, saying who he has winning.
Yeah,
the
apologize.
AFC North already. But I want to save the AFC. I'd rather do the NFC first, knock them out of the way, because
sure.
Obviously, in the AFC, we'll save the best for last. When you asked me, I said you didn't have to do this. You know, you could just do your division winners and wild cards, whatever you want to do. I think whether on purpose or not, actually put them in the order that I would have anyway, though, if I was doing them by division winner here. I have a surprise 1 seed in the NFC, I feel like. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow. That would be a surprise.
Reason being, I think they are very good, but I also think that division is very bad. So I think they have a very good chance of being like 5-1, 6-0 in their division. And they do that in a very competitive NFC where the Eagles have to deal with the Commanders in their division, the Cowboys, who aren't as good, but still competitive, and a Giants team that the defense, at least, is going to be very good and competitive and hard to play against. And then you talk about the Packers, who have the Vikings, Lions, Bears, all within their division.
Oh, my.
And then the Rams have the 49ers, who might be healthy. I say might because you never know with them. The Seahawks, Cardinal. Like, I just think that the Buccaneers, out of the top teams in the NFC, have the easiest path because of the wins that they're going to get in their division right out the gate. So they are my number 1 seed. I got the Eagles, unbelievable, very much in the conversation to repeat best roster, top to bottom. If you're picking a franchise to just take their roster and start a franchise with right now, that would probably be the one to pick. The Green Bay Packers, I have unseating the Detroit Lions in that division. I think Micah Parsons is that much of a needle mover with how close to me that gap was already. The Lions losing some pieces, both their coordinators and such like that. I'm curious to see what that transition is like. I'm a believer in Jordan Love taking a massive leap this year. They don't have like that dude in the receiving room. They just have a bunch of dudes not capitalized. They don't have one dude in capital letters.
Do you think that they have somebody like? Do you think like someone like Golden or Reed or like will emerge as the number one?
Is going to be it's going to be Golden if somebody does it. I'm just not ready to say that before he plays a regular season game.
That's fair.
So the Rams, I believe, are going to win that division. I just have a hard the 49ers. Fair or not, just stay healthy. I can't buy into them until they're healthy. The Commanders to me
can't buy into them until CMC can pass a CAT scan.
Yeah. The Commanders to me are going to be the best team that does not win their division. Similarly to last year, the Lions I still think are a playoff team, but again, I think they take a little bit of a step back. And then I was like, man, this is pretty chalk for me. Where's that one team going to come from that nobody's really talking about as a playoff team? So I picked one on each side that is maybe a little bit of a leap of faith by me and going to throw some people off. I'm picking as my 7th seed in the NFC. The Arizona Cardinals.
Wow. That is a surprise.
Yes. Not the Seahawks or the 49ers as the number 2 team from the NFC West. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. I am a massive fan of the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, which is surprising that he came from the Cleveland Browns prior. Another guy that they let go that probably shouldn't have leave that organization. Trey McBride, unbelievable tight end. Marvin Harrison Jr., think poised for a massive leap. All the investments that they've made in the defensive side of the football. I think the offensive line is good enough. The big question mark, as it has been, is Tyler Murray really that dude? He's been paid as such. He was drafted as such. I'm not ready to say that it's panned out that way, and it's not like he's super young. I'm not saying he's like going to have this MVP season or needle moving type season where we start having a different conversation about him. I just think that he's finally in a place where he can just kind of be like a guy, a piece of the puzzle for a playoff team. Again, I'm not picking them to make any noise in the playoffs. I just think that there's a surprise team every year that nobody talks about that ends up being there, a la the Broncos last year. I'm going with the Cardinals this year to be that team from the NFC.
I like it. I like the creativity of that pick. I went with the more chalk route, I guess you could say, and I'll give my reason why.
Are there any differences from last year?
I
guess say it. We'll see if there are.
I don't think there are, but
okay.
my 4 division winners are the same as you. I have the Eagles, I have the Packers, I have the Buccaneers, and I have the Rams. With the Packers, same reasoning. I think that trade puts them over the edge. And I think that the Lions missing both of those coordinators from last year are going to take a little bit of a step back. The Buccaneers, that division stinks, and they do not. So clearly, I don't mind your pick of them winning the number 1 seed. It's surprising to hear out loud, but the reasoning for it isn't that surprising either. But yeah, I do think the Eagles and I think the Rams, as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to win that division. I like what they can do on both sides of the football. I do have the Lions, and I have the Commanders, and then the last team I think is chalk from last year. I have the 49ers as well. And the reason being, Christian McCaffrey likes to go in a cycle of like good year, bad year, good year, bad year, whether it's health related or just performance related. And last year, bad year, down year. Year before that, good year. So he's on the upswing again. So that's why I think you're going to get a healthy season from CMC. I think they'll figure out their wide receiver situation. And I think that Brock Purdy is going to do enough, and the defense will do enough to get them back to the postseason. I don't really think they're going to do anything in the postseason, similar to how you feel about the Cardinals. I just think that they're going to be the team to make it.
Okay. Yeah, so we both got an additional team from the NFC West there. We're still with different teams. Maybe that's a surprise for some. But, all right. Switching gears, going to the AFC then. I also, like I said, have a surprise pick over here, but not quite. Not with the division winners. My division winners are, I feel like, what you'd think they would be. But again, playing into the same reason for the Buccaneers here, decided who my number 1 seed was. It's going to be the Buffalo Bills. I think that they got the easiest division out of the teams that are going to win their division. So that's what kind of my separator is. Jets, Patriots, who I know a lot of people are thinking are going to be like the surprise team this year. A lot of people have them in their wild card. Spoiler alert, I do not have them in the playoffs. And the Miami Dolphins, who I think are going to be very bad. So Buffalo Bills, I think, are going to win a lot of games in their division. Maybe be the separator between them and the other division winners here, which I have as the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Houston Texans. I don't know that I have a ton to say about the. I mean, the Chiefs. I know a lot of people are picking the Broncos this year. I'm not subscribing to that. I actually think like the complete opposite. I think that the Chiefs. Sometimes people put too much stock into this. I think there is something to be said, though, about a team losing the Super Bowl and then coming back the next year with that chip on their shoulder. The Chiefs seem to be like the type of team specifically Patrick Mahomes to like buy into that type of thing for. So, yeah, I got the Chiefs. And I think they're going to be like they didn't have – I know that Rashee Rice is going to be suspended at the start of the season. He's still going to, assuming health afterwards, play in more games than he did last year for them. Hopefully Hollywood Brown can stay healthy. Made some investments into the offensive line. Simmons looks great at left tackle for them. So I think that there's a chance that this is a better roster for the Chiefs than we've seen. Mahomes kind of carried them on his back last year at a not very good roster, in my opinion, on the offensive side. Spags, fantastic with that defense. So, yeah, that's my thoughts with the division winners there. I do have the Steelers in the playoff field. I think that they're the 5 seed, and we can talk about how I think they fare in the playoffs once we get past this. This is where my surprise comes in, is as my 6th seed. A second team making it from the AFC South. I got the Jaguars here. Again, a lot of people going with the Broncos, a lot of people going with the Patriots in the playoff field. I have neither. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars here, a second team in the AFC South. I think Liam Cohen is awesome in terms of an offensive mind. We'll see how that translates to him being a head coach, but just what he's doing to bring for them on the offensive side of the football. I think it's going to unlock Trevor Lawrence. Man, Brian Thomas Jr. to me already a top, 10 to 12 wide receiver in the league. He's awesome. And getting just more weapons around him. You look at what Liam Cohen did for that run game. I think ETN is like a sneaky bounce back player to watch this year, just because the year that he had last year. You look at what Liam Cohen did with the likes of Bucky Irving and Tampa Bay. I think he's going to be able to revive that run game a little bit. And then obviously Travis Hunter is to me going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how they use him, but I think he can do everything. So I think we're going to see him more at receiver than corner. That's at least the way they're making it seem out the gate. But I'm hopeful that we get to see him on both sides of the ball quite a bit. So Jaguars going to be my sneaky team, and then rounding out the playoff field is the number 7 seed. I just believe in what he brings in terms of the floor as a coach. I'm going with the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh there making it to playoffs yet again. Justin Herbert, you go back and look at last year, wasn't like great from a statistical perspective because they run the football so much. And that kind of plays into this, man. Like Marion Hampton to me, maybe so we did rookie of the year for the Steelers. If I was picking an offensive rookie of the year, that might be my pick right there. I think that like team player fit is just so awesome.
Like
I know there's a
or for the Chargers?
Yeah. No, period. I know that there's a running back that was drafted in that same division, much higher, in Ashton Genty. I just like the fit of Hampton and how he's set up for success right away. A lot more there for the Chargers. So, yeah, I'm a believer in what the Chargers got going on. Again, I like what Harbaugh brings as a floor to the team. Again, I'm not going to I'm not going to pick them to make a bunch of noise in the postseason or anything like that, but I like them to get there over the Broncos.
I like it. So we have the same division winners once again. I do have the Ravens. I have the Chiefs. I have the Texans. I have the Bills. If I had to pick a number 1 seed, I would pick the Bills out of that. Same reason as you. I think they have the easiest schedule to do it. I do think that the Steelers end up being a wild card spot, like I had said in my prediction of the record. Kind of jumped the gun on that one a little bit. And then I do have 2 AFC West teams. I have the Broncos and the Chargers both making it, and I have the Bengals being left out and the Jags being left out.
Wait. You have the Broncos and Chargers? You're saying you have 3 teams from the AFC West as a whole. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So my wild cards are the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Chargers.
I got you. When you said 2 AFC West teams, you were just saying 2 in the wild card along.
In the wild card, yes. Yeah. I don't really love the AFC South enough. Like the Jags could sneak in there. I just think that division, like the AFC South and NFC South, it's something about the South division, man. It just kind of stinks. Like there's just something about it that it puts a sour.
Well, I agree. So it's like if you're a decent team, like say they sweep fair. The Titans and Colts, that's 4 wins right there.
That's very fair.
Might take 9 to be a playoff team.
Yeah, that's true. And as far as the Bengals go, I know that a lot of people are predicting them to get back to the postseason and be a wild card spot. I have a hard time believing that after the offense that they had last year and they still didn't make it because their defense was so bad that suddenly that's going to change in 2025. I mean, maybe they win some more of those closer games that they had with those offense, but I just don't see it. I don't think the defense is there, and I don't necessarily think that they're going to be able to replicate what they did offensively. I mean, they still have the weapons that they did, but that's setting a high bar.
Yeah. I mean, it's the things like the offensive line should be improved. The defense, I don't know how it's to be any different. Like changing it. You think there's that much stock going from Lou Anarumo to Al Golden coming over from Notre Dame? And I know they spent a 1st-round pick on Shamar Stewart, but I don't know how quickly he's going to make an impact, and everything else is just the same. So, like, I don't know. I don't like their linebackers outside of Logan Wilson. I don't like their corners. I don't like their defensive, the interior of the defense. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see it. I think that it's going to be a similar conversation to last year. When we get to the playoffs, it's going to be like, they might be more fun to watch than these teams at the bottom. Like,
Yeah, sure.
should they be in there? And maybe they are a better team than the Jaguars, Chargers by season's end, but they play in a tougher division and have a tougher schedule. So that's where I'm at with it. Did you do a Super Bowl prediction, or do you care to give one on the record right now? Had you not already figured this out?
If you want to give yours first, I can think of one. I didn't do a Super Bowl prediction, but I can think of one.
Yeah, I think this is the year. My Super Bowl is the Buffalo Bills representing the AFC and the Green Bay Packers representing the NFC. I say this is the year because the Bills have not been able to get over that hump, whether it's Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. They've been knocked out in the playoffs by one of them. I think this time they're able to get there. I think the Packers, we talked about the Micah Parsons effect. The question to me, what is going to take this team from being a division winner that maybe wins in the divisional, wins in the wild card, wins in the divisional maybe, but loses in the NFC Championship, or wins the NFC Championship. To me, that's going to be decided by Jordan Love. Like, what level is he going to be playing at? Can he take that next leap? I'm going to say yes. I think we're talking about him like firmly as a top 10 quarterback by the end of the season. One of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. There's some projection happening within this pick, obviously, for me to make this, but I'm going to say it comes to fruition. Also, just now realizing how odd it is for us to make our Super Bowl picks and then kind of go back in time and talk about the Steelers postseason prospects, but that's on me. So anyway, what do you think?
I do agree with you on one side of the league. I do really do think that it is the Bills' time. I think that the Chiefs they're tired. They are riding on the coattails of their past success, and I just think at some point it's going to fall off the rails. Travis Kelce, he's engaged to Taylor Swift now. He's checked out. There's no way they are going to make it back to the Super Bowl again. Yes, they will. But I just am predicting that the Bills are going to do it. I think that they're going to get the monkey off their back and finally get over that hump. On the other side of the football, though, more of a vanilla pick. I just think the Eagles are too good. I think that the way that they are set up to win, it's just too hard to beat them, especially if you're going to Philadelphia, if they end up getting the number 1 seed. I just think that the way that Sirianni has that offense, the way the defense is, like, they are the best roster in football for a reason, and it's going to take a insurmountable effort to be able to beat those guys. And so I think that it's going to be Eagles and Bills.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fair for sure. I did a 1 seed in the Bills and a 3 seed in the Packers as my Super Bowl. All right. So I mentioned I wanted to come back to the Steelers, though. I have them making the playoffs as the 5 seed here. And I think this is the year. If you follow me on Twitter, I put this out there already, so I'm not like breaking news on here. But I think they win a playoff game. And I feel pretty good about it if they finish as that 5 seed to go to Houston, which should have happened last year. Honestly, they should have been going to it would have been Houston last year instead of the Chargers had they just won one more game and not had a 4-game losing stretch to end the regular season. But anyways, I think this is the year that they win a playoff game, get the monkey off their back there, but then lose in the divisional round. So I have them getting that monkey off their back again, winning the wild card round. We could put that subject to rest and just focus on what should be the goal of winning a Super Bowl. Winning a single playoff game has been talked about far too much, but I get it when it's this long of a drought. It's just, I hate that every conversation comes back to it. Like, you can't talk about the 2025 Steelers without it being brought up that they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. So, new season, clean slate, Aaron Rodgers and the company, get them over that hump. There's still a couple more humps to get over, but get them over that hump.
I do think that they get over that hump as well. I think the offense is going to be improved. They're not going to be top 10. They're not going to be an elite offense. At least I don't think so. But I do think that they're going to be good enough in order to get them over that hump. I think the defense is going to be dynamic, and they're going to find themselves winning on Wild Card Weekend for the first time in a long time. If you want my most fun, most black and gold goggled pick for a Super Bowl, if we talk about the Steelers making it there,
yeah,
my pick would be Steelers-Rams as my most fun Super Bowl.
I think you were going to say Steelers-Packers. Like, how sweet would that be to have?
I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Because of the Aaron Rodgers connection, obviously. That also brings back a little bit of PTSD now that I'm thinking about it. So I just kind of want to stay away from that matchup.
I get it.
I don't want Rashard Mendenhall to fumble again. So
Jaylen Warren, if there was one thing to worry about with him, he's put the ball on the ground.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right. We want to know what you guys think. So let us know in the comments your thoughts on anything that we talked about today for all those categories, including what you think this team is going to do in the playoffs. And hey, if you want to throw your Super Bowl prediction out there as well, biased or unbiased, we'll take all comments. So let us know there. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. As always, follow us on everything at Around the 412. Check out the description, whether you are watching on here on YouTube or listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. By the way, subscribe over there, leaves a 5-star review. But yes, check out the description. All of our sponsors down there, as well as Tyler mentioned, year 8, rocking around the 412. Rolling now. When we hit September, it's really where things pick up. So as Tyler mentioned, the East Rochester Angel Tree stuff will get going here in the very near future. Got to reach out to them here soon and start getting tagged and stuff. So if you want to be involved specifically with that, stay on the lookout. Otherwise, you can donate through GoFundMe or just reach out to one of us. Figure out how to donate. Anybody that donates will be eligible to win some prizes. Tyler always buys a set of Penguins tickets. Those will probably go for like $25 this year. So, by the way, very cheeky move by them with the 3-headed monster bobbleheads. Because you have to have all 3 for them to like spell out Pittsburgh Penguins. Like they go together, but they're 3 different games. So like they're trying to get you to go to all 3 to collect them. So I get it. I see the play. I respect the hustle from the Pittsburgh Penguins there with the marketing. But yeah, so donate, be eligible to win some prizes. Pat Fryermuth jersey, some other sports stuff obviously going to be out there as well. Game Changers, rocking one right now. Talked about them earlier. Which, by the way, save $10 using the code AT412. So we told you about everything besides one of our sponsors right above Tyler right now, Marcelo Electric. Our friend Brandon Marcelo, a.k.a. Boots, his small business. Hit him up, 724-614-0611. Serving in Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County, whether it's residential, commercial, service calls. He's got you covered. Again, Marcelo Electric, 724-614-0611. Link below to his Facebook page. Go see all of his work. Also, that contact information that I just read off to you is also over there. And let us know also in the comments how you're feeling about the additional content that we're providing you guys. Hope to see you on Saturday for Steelers Saturday Sit Down. Certainly looking forward to it. That's why we're not going to make a game prediction on here for week 1 versus the Jets. We're going to save that for over there. But again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Follow us everywhere at Around the 412. Follow Tyler, Weiler_Teach33, and then you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. For Tyler, myself, thanks for stopping by, watching another Around the 412 Steelers show.